All right. Welcome to the February 19th meeting of CB11's Executive Committee. My name is Dan Bria, and I am the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Tonight we are joined by our district manager and staff liaison of the Executive Committee, Angel Muscane. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. One, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participant's icon, and you will find the raise hand function there. You should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person. The chat should not be used to discuss or pose questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects in the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. With that said, Angel, can you please take the roll?
Members, when I call your name, please answer present. Jose Altamirano. Present. Dan Bria. Present. Rosa Diaz. Present. Jill Jones. Sage Mason. Nelson Ramos. Present. Asher Rodriguez. Present. Xavier Santiago. Derek Stampone. Present. Emery Vasquez. Present. Jason Villanueva. We have quorum.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move to the adoption. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Committee members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand to be recognized. All right, no hands or no objections. The agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We'll now move to the adoption of the meeting minutes from our January meeting. The minutes from our last meeting.
Sorry, this is Sage. I'm walking in now, but can I be marked as present?
Well, yeah, of course, you're going to be here, so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for, sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no problem. All right, the minutes from our last meeting were distributed to the committee members ahead of time. All right, we don't need to worry about it up there. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand and to be recognized. Most of us aren't even in here now, but seeing no objections, the minutes from the last meeting are adopted. The minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by the board vice chair, Jose Altamirano. Okay, with that, we will move into announcements. I'll just say that, I attended groundbreaking for Tamale Terrace yesterday. I got to spend some nice time with the mayor, which was pretty cool. We just met actually with the CEO of NYCHA a couple hours before this meeting began with the housing chair, Nilsa Rama, our vice chair, Jose Altamirano. Our vice chair housing was unable to make it, and then our district manager, Angel Muscane. It was a very productive meeting. We asked a lot of questions, but we left it open that it wasn't a one-time thing. It was the beginning of a dialogue and working together. We threw out the idea of working on a forum to start to kind of explain better to residents what the RAD-PAC program is and what it isn't, and what facts may be being misrepresented or not. I don't think maybe so much as what a position of this board would be, as much as being informative to what things really are. And I think it's important that we have that relationship. I think that oftentimes we've said that we don't have these communications. So I think we're here to build them, but not just for the sake of building them, but to push results for our community. Okay. There's other things, but they'll be in my chair report. So anybody have any questions?
Oh, I have an announcement.
Go ahead.
I don't want to list them all right now for time's sake, but there's quite a few youth internships, and I'm not just saying youth like high school age, like they go from like 13 to like 24. So if you know of any youth looking for internships and stuff, I don't want to list all them out right now, but yeah, let me know.
Okay, thank you for that. All right.
I have an announcement too.
Okay, go ahead, Rosa.
So for whoever doesn't know or hasn't been advised, we're hosting the Environmental Open Space and Parks Committee is hosting the 5th Annual Earth Conference on April 22nd at the Museum of the City of New York. If you're interested, please email me at eosp@cb11m.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Okay, we will move into the presentations and discussions. So with that said, we'll have the continuing discussion regarding the proposed supportive housing development project at 2162 3rd Avenue from St. Francis Friends of the Poor. They've already been to the housing committee meeting back in September, and they've been very open to having a dialogue with the board. I think we all, I'll let them speak. We're all kind of, I've been trying to keep everyone up to date on this. Are everybody aware of where we're at with this right now? Okay, good. Then, Christina, thank you so much for being here a second time in person. That is very much appreciated. I know the committee sent you a ton of questions. I don't think I expect you to
I
answer.
grouped them in kind of broad categories. I figured that would be it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, I think, say what you want to
Do you
say.
want me to stand, sit?
Whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to sit right there, you can sit right there. I mean, even right there. If you're talking to us, you can sit there, yeah. And, yeah, I mean, just talk, I guess, give us an update, more of an update. The questions that you have grouped answered, and we'll see if we have other questions and comments, all right? So
Sure.
the floor is yours.
So first of all, I'm Christina Byrne. I am the Executive Director at St. Francis Friends of the Poor. As we get into this conversation, I'll share more about what we do and how we do it. But before I get into that, I want to thank ADEM for inviting us back and for engaging in dialogue. And it was nice to hear that's what you just did with Tambali Terrace, and that's exactly what we're hoping for to do here. And congratulations on your new appointment in your chair role. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, but probably depending on the day.
It's a blessing because I asked for it.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations. And I also have some members of my team here who will help me because I don't know the answers to everything. So I have Justin Stein here. He is with Bronx Pro Group. They are our joint development partner. I have Ashley Meza here. She is with Pitta Bishop. They are our government relations firm. And I believe on the call, I have Katie Devine. She is our affordable housing development consultant, and she was here last time. And Kimberly Murphy, who is our architect. So we've got a team of people here that should be able, between the 4 or 5 of us, be able to answer your questions.
Thank you.
So you don't want me to go through the presentation. Everyone has seen that.
They've all seen it. I think, and I'm correct that you guys closed on the property, right, in December. So I think, yeah, the presentations we see, we don't need to do that again.
Okay.
So just share what you want to share, and we can get to the answers to the questions.
Okay. So I'll just broadly share. St. Francis Friends of the Poor provides permanent supportive housing to a population of people that fall into a category called serious mental illness. So these are people who were formerly homeless and have a serious mental illness, which sort of inhibits their ability to live as independently as you or I would. What they need is individualized based on who they are. So St. Francis Friends of the Poor is the original permanent supportive housing provider in New York City, New York State. Some people would argue the country. I'm not going to get into that argument, but we are proud to say that in New York State, we're the first permanent supportive housing provider. And what that means is permanent, meaning we're providing people with permanent homes that are affordable, and supportive is that we bring in supportive services to help people through their journey of their disease, their illness with mental illness, and help them to achieve the goals that they want, which are no different than you or I, right? I mean, so, the services that we offer to folks are, we help them with their medication, we help them with their money, we help them with all of their benefits. Most of them are on Social Security, supplemental security income. So they are all very low income. So we help them with budgeting. We provide therapeutic services. We have on-site psychiatry, on-site primary medical care, social workers, case managers, art therapists, and then whatever else it is that someone needs. We provide meals for people. And we've been doing this for 45 years. We have 3 buildings in Midtown Manhattan on both the west and the east side. And 45 years later, we are happy to say that we're going to expand our model. We've purchased a property at 2162 3rd Avenue here in East Harlem. And we met with the community board in September, which was just about 2 months after we knew we wanted to purchase this property. We introduced ourselves, and then we said, all right, we'll be back in touch. And so we settled in December, and here we are.
Thank you.
Any questions before I kind of jump into your questions that you provided me? No?
If you have questions after the question.
Yeah, exactly.
I have
Exactly.
questions, but I'll wait.
Okay. So I think what I'll start with is the financing. There was a lot of questions about the financing of the deal, and would someone be on the line? If Katie Devine is on the line, would she be able to help answer some of these questions?
Yeah.
If for some reason I'm screwing it up?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
2 folks that signed in with your name.
Okay.
They just changed it. Linda Flores and then somebody else with your name. So maybe that's 2 people.
Well, listen, so I just unmuted myself. This is Katie Devine. Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
All right.
Brilliant.
So I wanted to make sure that she was there because I'm a social worker, not a finance
It's okay.
person.
So you have a team.
So the questions that you guys were asking was about the HPD financing structure. What I'll say first is that we are going for a state financing structure deal, not a city one. That doesn't mean it won't also include the city because financing is very complicated, but we are talking with the state to do an HCR deal. We are looking for, let's see, so HCR funding through the Supportive Housing Opportunity Program, which is the SHOP program. Today, we submitted an application for the RES-OA funding from City Council. It'll be a combination with state low-income housing tax credits and some energy efficiency programs that will become available to us because of the design of the building that we'll be working on. High level, that's the structure of the deal. You guys asked what funding was already secured and what wasn't secured. We have a commitment letter from the state to have ESHI, Empire State Supportive Housing, I don't know what the I is. Initiative, thank you. Thank you. And that is a funding stream that gives us both money for program services that we will offer to the tenant population, the supportive housing tenant population, as well as subsidy to help pay for their rent because that population is very low income. So they will come with subsidies. Let's see. So we have acquisition funding, which we did get from the New York Acquisition Fund. And that's what helped us purchase the building, and that'll hold the loan until we can get a construction loan, which is all that other financing we just talked about. 2 to 3 years before we would close, right? So it takes that long to pull all of the financing pieces together. In an ideal world, we'd be closing December 2027, but that really all depends on what the city and state are doing with all of their funding. And the property will sit vacant right now. There is a 4-story, virtually condemned, parts of it are condemned building that is locked up and secured. We will demolish that in a couple of months as soon as all those permits come through, and then that will be a vacant lot until we can start building. Hopefully very early in 2028 would be the goal for that. Stop there. Any questions?
Well, let me, I know it's been very quick. You had met with the previous council person, right? Diane Ayala?
We did.
And have you had any engagement with the new one, Elsie Encarnacion?
With Elsie, we wanted to give her a break or
I
a
figured, that's
chance
why I said
to
it's been
get
quick.
get into her new position and settle in there.
Understood.
But yes, we let her know when we let you guys know that we had settled on the property, so she does know that. And now that she's like probably shaking out into her position, we'll have a meeting with her for sure.
Thank you. All right, yeah, keep going.
So, Other questions that you guys had were about the income levels of the tenant population. So the building will have 181 units. One unit will be a live-in super, that'll be a 2-bedroom. And the other 180 units, 60% or 108 of those units will be permanent supportive housing. So those will be for the population of people that we serve, which are people that live with serious mental illness and have experienced homelessness. And then the other 72 units in the building will all be affordable at no more than 60% of AMI. It could be higher than that. St. Francis Friends of the Poor, our mission is serving the people who need it most. The Franciscans will say the least among us. So the people who need it most is what our mission is. If we could make the deal financially work, we would go much lower than 60% if we could make the deal financially work. The reality of that is very, very slim. And that's just, unfortunately, the way city, state, government funding all pans itself out. And I can let Katie jump in a second on that one, but you guys were asking, like, you know, how is this all decided, and you know, what is set in stone and what isn't set in stone. To get the underwriting to work right now, those 70 units are at 60% AMI. If we can work creatively with funding and get it lower, we would. My board very much wants to get it lower. But I cannot, in fact, I can say it's probably unlikely, but I can say that we will try.
So I would just say, just to add to that, this is Katie Devine from Devine & Co. I would just add to that you know, essentially the way that AMIs and really the way that any of the financing stack on a project like this is determined is that you start with the program that is what the mission dictates, right? And so the mission is dictating that 60% of the units are going to be units for formerly homeless residents, and then the balance are going to be units that'll go through the lottery. So that's the baseline. The next level on top of that is the requirements of the low-income housing tax credit program that require that overall, the whole project, all of the units that are eligible for tax credits have to average out to a certain AMI. In practice, what that means is that we're balancing the low-income housing tax credit rules, St. Francis's programmatic goals, and then finally, the goals of the city and state who are putting capital subsidy, meaning cash dollars, into the project. They want to find as many ways as they can to reduce the amount of the size of the check that they have to write. And sometimes that means that they tinker with unit AMIs. So you still get the average to qualify for the tax credit program, but you might have some units that are at 70% of AMI and some units that are at 40, and just, it's all about just backing into the matrix of what the city wants, starting with the primary goal, which is to have 60% of the units in the building serve formerly homeless individuals
With serious,
with serious mental illness. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the financing piece. I figured I'd just get that out of the way so we were all sort of clear on that one. Clear as mud, right? All right, so you guys were asking about referrals and placements and those sorts of things. So for the 60% of units, or 108 units, will come through the city's CAPS system, which is coordinated access point system, something like that. So for someone to be able to qualify for an ESHI unit, they have to have gone through an assessment process with a clinical team to determine that they do in fact have a serious mental illness and that they do in fact need affordable, permanent supportive, affordable housing. They get an application approved, which is called the 2010E. And at that point, that person gets put into this coordinated access system. And as units come available that we will put online and say we have X number of units, they will then do some algorithm that matches them up and sends them our way as referrals. Generally speaking, the goal, and I'm saying this more from a like a re-rental of a unit, not renting 108 units all at one time. But generally speaking, they'll send you per unit 3 referrals, with the understanding that a lot of times referrals just drop out of the process somewhere. And so we'll have the ability to work with them to identify and confirm that they meet all the eligibility requirements, that they want to live there, and those sorts of things. The way the system is set up, so that there is no cherry picking and that there is no unfairly denying people access to affordable housing and supportive services, we cannot deny someone if they have been found eligible by the algorithms and the clinical evaluations and are referred to us. There would have to be some very big difference between what was presented on paper and what that person's reality is for us to be able to go back to the city or the state and say, this person really isn't going to work here. So we don't have a whole lot of say in that.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to forget that the first time we met, you did say there was an ability, and Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, that there was an ability to somewhat favor referrals from people that were in the community.
So what we said is we would very much like to do that. That is going to be our partnership with you guys, because as developers, the city and state aren't going to listen to us, the electeds, because it's the electeds at that point who have to override sort of what the city and state rules are. So we would very much like to do that, and we'd very much like to partner with you guys to do that. Katie, do you want to talk about community set-asides and your experience with them?
Sure. And I'd also be curious what Justin has to say on this point too. But my experience is that obviously we would want as many of those 40% of the units that are going through the lottery. Obviously, it would be ideal if those could go to local community-based families and individuals. My experience is that HPD and HCR want very much to have the units that go into the lottery be in the full lottery that's available citywide for anyone who is eligible. And so it's sort of like this competing push and pull where we can say, well, we want it to be local preference. And they say, well, the standard is that it goes through the citywide lottery. And we can push, you can push, but my experience is that it's certainly possible, but that it's not something that we as the development team can commit to today, because it is not something that is within our control. Justin, do you agree on that point?
Yeah, so Katie, I'm not up to date on the current ruling. There was a settlement with HPD and I believe the state that dictates that set aside that we're allowed to have. But we can confirm what HPD's current position is.
Yeah, why don't we just say we'll try to get a position on that and send it in writing in the next couple of weeks. We can do that.
Yeah, and with the understanding that it's a new administration all around, and anything can change between now and 5 years from now, which is when we'll be opening up the building likely.
Yeah. And I just want to, I don't want to speak for all of us, but it's not that we don't want to help everybody. It's a lot of the services we provide in this community are not for people from this community, and there are a lot of people in this community that need them. So it just doesn't always make sense. But I know how things work. Oh, sorry. One other question on the screening, they have to have the qualified mental illness and then the low income. But besides that level of screening, what screening is there? In terms of do they have a history of violence, or is there a way of making sure if they're supposed to be on medications, like what are the consequences of them not following what they're supposed to. Okay, I think the concern from a lot of people is that, right? I think a lot of from what I see, the misconception of the issues are, it's not often the substance abuse sometimes when people are scared of what they see on the street. It might be somebody who's suffering from a mental illness, and it's a twofold thing. It's, they shouldn't be out there suffering from that, but people get scared. So I guess my question is, what mechanism is in place to ensure they're getting the treatment that they need, but that, at the same time, it would avoid any of the things that people might be afraid of, and rightfully so, but also I understand some people blow it out of proportion because they have an agenda.
And there's also the media that blows it out of proportion as well. But yes.
You could, answer so what screening is that?
So I guess what I would say there is, legally, we cannot require anyone to be taking their medications. We can't require anyone to be sober. Those are not only city and state laws, but also federal laws through HUD. However, this is where supportive services come in, and this is where St. Francis has been really successful over the last 45 years. So the way that our model is set up is most permanent supportive housing, they see their case manager once a month. With us, they see us every single day. So we have on-site services, psychiatric, medical, nursing, social workers, case managers, clinical therapists. We see our tenants every single day. And if we don't see them, we go looking for them. And when we see them, our nurses are very keen in watching what's happening. And this is because we help people with their medications, right? Keeping track of medications for any of us can be a little bit of a hassle. For us, it's a hassle and an inconvenience. For someone who is living with schizophrenia and has a lot of stuff going on in their heads, managing their medications is a really tough job to do. And part of the reason why they don't take their medications every day and get sick is because it's a really hard thing to do. And when someone's only there monthly saying, are you taking your medications? There's a lot of time that can go by when you're not taking your medications. But when someone is saying daily, have you taken your medications? Let us help you with this. We get people to stay healthy and housed. And what I would say is that kind of gives you some indication around how that daily contact with people makes a difference. 3 things that I'll say are, 1, for the city, the average length of residency for someone living in permanent supportive housing who has serious mental illness in the city is 7.5 years. Ours is 18 years. So when people come to live with us, they're there. They're there until they can't live there anymore, usually because of an accessibility issue, which is why I'm also going to talk a little bit about those set-asides in a minute around accessibility. So that's one example of that high-touch service that we offer and the difference it makes in the lives of those people. The second one is that the average lifespan of the people that we are supporting is 12 to 15 years longer for the tenants in our population than it is for their cohort in the city. So again, we are helping people live healthier lives. And then the third thing, which is now kind of becoming less impactful to talk about, but during COVID, we had no COVID deaths. We were in facilities that were of the highest rate of COVID deaths throughout the city, these congregate care facilities. And we had none. And again, putting your eyes on someone every single day and knowing them well enough to see when there's something not right and addressing it right there. So can we screen them out? No. Do we have the services in place to help do everything we possibly can to help people stay healthy? Yes, and we've been successful at it.
And I think to answer one of your questions, a last resort is an eviction.
But I was going to ask that, what if they're in and then something happens?
We manage or co-manage over 1,000 units of supportive housing, and in partnership with nonprofits like Christina. And it's every tenant has a lease. We have a set of house rules that we're going to develop together in partnership. And the people do need to follow those house rules, and that is our mechanism. That if somebody is not following those rules. that, you know, as that last resort that they would be evicted.
Nilsa, and then, I don't know, Xavier, your hand was up, so I'll go Nilsa and then Xavier. You
Yeah,
start
I have
first.
a couple of questions that I'm gonna try to put it generally for you to explain. One is my first question is, what drew you to our community? And when you were assessing, did you do community outreach to get a sense of, you know, how the community felt about this project? I'm also curious about your other two sites. I think you mentioned that you have three sites. How are they integrated into the community? Have you had any complaints? And if so, how do you go around any type of complaints? How do you go around dealing with any community issues or concerns? I'm also curious about your day-to-day operation. If you could give us an idea of the day-to-day operation in one of your existing places, and then how do you manage the external environment for your residents?
Okay. So your first question was about
What drew you to
what
us?
drew us to, there you go. So there was a couple things. We had been looking around for about 2.5 years for a property. We knew we wanted to be in Manhattan because most permanent supportive housing that's being developed now in the city is being developed in the outer boroughs where there's no accessibility to transportation, there's no accessibility to amenities. And again, our mission is that we're helping people to live healthy and integrate into the communities. So we wanted to stay in Manhattan where people had access to amenities and could be integrated in with the community. So that was one thing. Some of it's just logistics. We needed a property, a certain size that could fit a certain number of units that makes the project viable. And lower down in Manhattan, you don't find those size properties. As you come up into East Harlem, we were able to find those size properties. And then the third part of it, when we started to kind of narrow down on where the properties were, we were looking at what the community boards were putting together and what they wanted in their communities. And there's no shortage of things in here where you guys are talking about affordable housing for elderly, accessible housing to stay in the community, which is why I wanted to bring up that point. And also bringing people in that have serious mental illness, people with disabilities and serious mental illness. So we did not reach out to the communities as we were looking for these properties. There were other factors that I just shared, but we did. We talked with the Manhattan Borough President at the time about some different properties and had them kind of direct us towards this property as opposed to some of the other properties we were looking at.
Yeah, I just wanna make it clear that your property is not the only supportive housing. It seems like a lot of people from a lot of different communities are drawn to East Harlem for similar housing. So now I'm concerned now about your day-to-day operation, like I mentioned, and how do you, on your other properties, navigate any complaints or any issues if there are any? How do you interact with the existing community around those locations, as well as what would a client, if I'm there, what is my expectation from your operation, and how do you manage the external areas of your project?
So if you are a tenant that's living in one of our buildings, the expectations that you can have of us is that you will have access to, because we cannot force anyone to accept these services. It's all about building trust, right? It's all about being present. And that is a Franciscan value, being present, walking someone's journey with them. And so that is the attitude that we take. We are there to help them on their journey to recovery. In doing that, we offer to them the services that I was sharing. We have on-site psychiatry, on-site therapy, on-site medical, on-site nursing. We offer them the opportunities to help them with their money, to help them with their medications. Lots of people will come to us and say, I don't need that help. Within months, almost every single person comes and says, oh my gosh, I see my fellow residents who are like, oh, I got someone who's doing this for me, I got someone who's doing that for me. They're like, why are you running around trying to get your medications when you can get them delivered and packaged and, you know, basically handed to you on a platter, right? So it's a lot about being present, earning people's trust, meeting them where they are, and walking their journey with them. So, you know, a typical day we'll have them, the nurses will be available, the doctors, all that kind of stuff, but we also have programming available. So we offer breakfast and lunch. People living with serious mental illness, particularly schizophrenia, these are folks who spend a lot of time in their head, and our goal is to draw them into the community, right? So you have to have reasons for them to want to come out of their units, their rooms, their apartments, to engage with other people. Because as a general rule, people living with schizophrenia are less likely to do that. They self-isolate for a lot of different reasons. Stigma being one of them, right? And then the other is just, you know, they spend a lot of time in their head. So we offer free lunches, or 50 cents, almost free lunches. Lunches are $1, breakfasts are 50 cents. That gets people to come down and they eat in community with other people when they have that opportunity to do that. That gives us, again, the chance to be able to see people every day, interact with them, have our psychiatrist presence, you know, all of those things. We also have, you know, at any given day, there will be different therapeutic, recreational art activities. Sometimes it is a very structured therapy group, and sometimes it's an open art studio. One of our founding principles is the sort of healing benefits of art. So we have art studios in all 3 of our residences, and we will have an art studio in this residence as well. That is another reason that East Harlem was really appealing to us, because it is a community that is rich in the arts, of all different kinds of arts. And art is a founding principle of ours. So they will have access to the art studio, structured and unstructured activities. We have community lounges where people can hang out. So we have quiet spaces as well as active spaces where people can just watch television and watch games and do that. So yeah, does that kind of answer what the daily operation
Yeah,
is?
and could you just tell me,
The
last
community,
question about
community.
how your residences, the 3 residences interact with the existing community, and if something has come up,
Yeah.
how have you resolved that?
Yeah, so I've been there for 6 years now, and I have not gotten a single call from a community board, from our council members, from the police department. I do sometimes get calls from neighbors that will say like, hey, what can we do? Because they are looking to partner with us about the encampment at the end of 22nd Street, or what can we do about the you know, the drug dealer that's sitting on the end of the street? Because guess what? That drug dealer is going after our folks are vulnerable. I know that the media portrays them as the aggressors, but more often than not, the people that we're supporting are the victims, right? And so they are very easy targets for these people who are trying to take advantage of them, right? Take their money from them, sell them drugs, get them addicted. You know, I don't know why they're killing them. You're killing your customer base. I don't get it. But we partner with the community on that. We talk with our local precincts. What can we do? When we see this person at the end of the street, we're gonna call the police so that you guys can come and see this deal happening when it's happening. Like, we have that direct line of communication. They don't always get there in time. You know what I mean? Like, that's a frustrating thing.
Yeah, that's why I was curious about how you manage your extended.
Yeah, I mean, we have all those, we've been in these buildings for 45 years. Chelsea, and Gramercy Park, they were very similar to what East Harlem is now. They were sort of up and coming, and we were part of that community becoming a healthy, vibrant community. And we are so embedded in it that I will talk to people and be like, what? You guys have a building right there down the street? I've lived here for 20 years. I didn't even know that. That is, we're like the best kept secret, right?
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go four more questions from the committee, one question, all right, well, five, and don't raise your hand anymore because I won't recognize, we have to move the meeting along. So five, so we're going Xavier, Asher, Jose, Sage, one question each, please. Because we asked a lot of questions and I didn't think you're gonna be able to answer them all, but you could probably prepare them, so you could always email it and I can share it with all of you, all right? So Xavier, go
So
ahead.
Chair, would you mind? I'll go last. How about that? In case there's any duplicates. So I think that'd be best since I'm virtual.
Well, no, I mean, there could be duplicates either way, so you could go ahead.
Okay. So thank you. Sorry, I'm a bit unwell at the moment, but we talked about community preference, which is what you were referencing, correct? The 50% settlement in 2024 January, where it used to be 50% and now it's down to 20, and in 2029 it'll drop down to 15 if I recall correctly. So is that what you were referencing?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's not my question. I just want to clarify for everyone there. I think as a Jesuit, and we work in tandem with our Franciscan brothers and sisters, one of the big things that in Jesuits tend to be more focused on to the rigor of execution, integrating into a community such as this. Chelsea, when your organization came in, it was very dissimilar. So I will say it did not have the sheer concentration of NYCHA. We have probably the highest concentration of NYCHA here in this community, between here and the South Bronx. So that's also part. We also are lower socioeconomic when it comes to AMI. That's an issue as well. So I think, and we've also been incurring different battles. So I'd like to know who directed from the MBPO's office to this site, and what other sites were you pointed toward? So that's very important to know, and the totality and holistic nature of how we address the issues within our city.
I don't know that I can say anything more than at the time, the Manhattan Borough President's Office, we presented a couple different properties. We said, what do you think? And they said, we think you should try here as opposed to over there.
Okay. Where were the over heres then?
They were also in Harlem.
Okay, so they were in
Harlem or north of Harlem.
So northern Manhattan.
Correct.
Okay.
They were all in northern Manhattan.
Okay. And were any other sites in other boroughs identified as well?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Didn't even look in the other boroughs.
All right,
No, that's
Asher.
helpful. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say I think it is a great program that you run. Before I say this, have you reached out to any of the schools in the area or the superintendent? Because there's quite a few school buildings within that vicinity. I'm just
No.
saying, just because of concerns that might want to be, like, that's something that will come up, especially if there's children walking through there. There's quite a few middle schools, so there will be quite a lot of younger people walking by themselves through there. I'm saying,
Yeah, I would say the people that we're supporting are no more dangerous than anyone else that's on the street. So, but that being said, we do work with the schools in our local communities now. Oftentimes their students are doing their volunteer work with us. We have not reached out to the schools here. We've reached out already to the School of Social Work because the School of Social Work will abut the new building. But you know what? We've got all the time in the world to make sure that we're making those connections, and us being here with you guys to learn what your needs are and your concerns are and what your recommendations are will help give us that direction on where do we need to be talking with them.
Could you let him speak before you actually?
Rosa, it's okay.
It's all right. I could
Yeah,
speak for myself.
Yeah.
No, I'm only bringing that up. I'm not saying y'all shouldn't be next to a school or anything like that, but there's like weed dispensaries that have opened up by these schools. There's other stuff. I'm saying there's a lot going on right now, so tensions are high. So I'm saying for y'all's sake also, and just communicate with people and let them know. Because I think just to avoid like any of the stigma that might come with it, just let them know, have that conversation. I think open up that dialogue, because our superintendent is very open to having dialogue and connecting you to people.
Excellent. Then that is a great recommendation and suggestion. Absolutely.
Thank you, Asher. Jose?
So this building is south of Silverman, right? The corner,
Mhm.
it's, okay. How many stories is your building?
I think it's going to be 14 stories.
14-story. And in terms of committing, you said it was going to be hard to commit to, we were talking about earlier, the, it's superseded, but it was about people that live there being from East Harlem, right? It was a
The
commitment
set
issue.
aside.
That eventually it might supersede you. Is that how it works, more or less? Because we had this conversation earlier, like it might be something outside of your control.
The community set aside.
Yes.
Yes, it is completely out of our control.
But you could still commit to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
As a whole.
I mean, I
That's
can
what we
say
would
that is
expect,
something
because
that
if we're
we would
going-
like, and
if
we
we're
would
gonna push for it, we would want you to push for it, because we're gonna work together.
100%.
So we would expect your commitment in that, understanding
Mhm.
that if it comes to it, it's out of your
Yes.
control.
Yes. You have my commitment without 1 ounce of a doubt. Can I add one thing onto that?
Sure.
I would really like to add on top of the community set aside that we're looking at people who are elderly. Because what we're seeing in our community, meaning people living with serious mental illness and permanent supportive housing, is that it's all old housing stock, just like the older housing stock anywhere in the city isn't accessible. So we have people that are living with us and want to continue living with us, but because they need to use a wheelchair or a walker and we don't have those facilities, they go live in a nursing home. Right now, it costs the city about $35,000 a year for us to provide the services that we provide. For them to get, I'm going to say, less quality services in a nursing home for accessibility, it's $175,000 a year. So it's costing us as taxpayers a whole lot more money just because someone doesn't have an accessibility feature. So one of the things that I am going to try to go in very hard with when we're advocating with our funding sources is that this building will be fully accessible. Why can't we use this building to help people that our population and the community population? And you guys have all through your, budget request, accessible housing for the elderly. So I'd really like to partner with you guys in that respect too.
Anne Marie?
No, Sage.
Oh, no, it was Anne Marie, then
Oh, you
Sage.
see my name, so okay.
No, your hand was up first, so if I
Yeah,
didn't, forgive me.
Well, I was gonna ask, I was at jail, and how do you track when people come and go? Is it like, I don't know how to, like a signage, you wanna know when they're there, you're not there, because if they're in the community,
So
they're not coming back, they may be doing something, we don't know. How do you track?
yeah.
3 days, you haven't seen this person, you go up to the door, knock, I mean, because.
We do that on a daily.
Down.
We do that on a daily basis. If we don't see someone on a daily basis, we will go and look for them.
Because you mentioned that they have to come to you.
No. If we don't see them. If we're there,
You
don't,
see them, you go
then we
out.
go find them.
And then the other one was there's a weed dispensary, but he already mentioned that, there's a weed dispensary out there.
Okay, yeah, Tetra, right?
One more thing, and it's a legal dispensary.
Yeah.
In terms of referrals, because I used to do the
2010
E's, but when I was a care manager in Borinque, definitely CUCS is right, it's on 121st and 3rd, and they definitely work with that population.
Yeah.
And Borinque also, we used to complete those 2010 E's for CUCS.
Oh, yeah.
So those are 2 referrals, sources that you have in the community.
CUCS, the referrals will come through CUCS. That's how the city sets them up.
So
So,
they
yeah.
have an office.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you. Sage?
I'll skip my question. Thank you for coming, and especially thank you for reading our budget last week.
Okay, I have a couple last points, but we'll take Beverly's hand, and then if I don't see any other hands, I'll just wrap it up, and then we'll move on. Go ahead, Beverly. Beverly?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you. CFF. Can I be heard? Can I be heard?
Now we hear. Now we hear you. Yep. No, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, St. Francis, for the presentations and the questions that you asked. My question is, I have like three. Based on the finance unit, you can't say whether or not the AMI will be 60%. It might be higher. I just want you to give me some information on that. The second thing is the type of size units that you're gonna have for this 180 units, and then the other 72, what are the size of the units? Are any of those sizes for families or even for the supportive housing? Would the the people who need the supportive houses be for family size also? People who have family that they live with? And regarding your arts, is there any other thing other than arts that you help them with, like exercise or swimming or other activities for your population?
Let me throw in job training of some kind
Mhm.
and
And
then
trot.
so we can,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll just address the last one first, about the activities. Yeah, we do all sorts of health and wellness. So yoga, walk, going to the gym, going to the YMCA, just doing walks around the community, meditation. We have lots of volunteers that come in and help us run those activities. So yeah, it's far more than the arts, and some of it's just recreation. Like, everyone, let's go to the movies, or let's go to a ball game, or whatever that might be. So the other piece, the first point that you brought up was, can we guarantee that nothing will be over 60% of AMI? No. Katie shared in the beginning, the city has control over that. So they may, when they're figuring out all the financing, they might say, you need a couple of units to be at something greater than 60%. What I can say and what I can give you my commitment is we will fight that as much as we can. But in the end, that's not a decision that we make. And then the other piece is about the unit sizes. The unit sizes are all going to be studio or 1 bedrooms, with the exception of the 2-bedroom for the live-in super. And the point behind that is 2 things. One, that is St. Francis, again, going with the philosophy of working with the people who need it most. A lot of the people that we work with are no longer connected with their families because of their illness. So they are out there in the world trying to figure it out on their own. And so we specialize and work with single adults, helping them to get healthy enough so they can reconnect with their families. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing single 1 room and studio. The 1 rooms are because we want to look at that elderly piece. And we know sometimes elderly will either have 24-hour caregivers or live-in caregivers. So that's why there's the 1 bedrooms in there, with the hope that we'll be able to do that. There are statistics in the city that show that for serious mental illness, the family units don't get filled. Those aren't the ones that need to get filled. It's the single adult units that need to get filled. So the providers who have family units available for people with the head of household with a serious mental illness go vacant far longer than the single units.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
in regards to that, my
last
okay.
thing, so we can move it along. Thank you.
Yeah, the reason why I asked about family, because I know a lot of families have people in their families with mental illness and need supportive housing or support for them. So I was just wondering whether or not that was something that y'all would consider, even teaching the family how to deal with people within their family that has special serious mental illnesses. That's why I asked about the unit size for families.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Thank you. For the qualification for a family, it has to be the head of household that has a serious mental illness, so not a member of the
We'll do
household.
15-15.
Well, we're gonna do ESHI instead of 15-15.
gotcha.
And the reason we're doing that is because 15-15 is turning into a substance use disorder program.
So that's not happening here, because in the presentation, it said serious mental illness and substance abuse.
And or substance abuse.
So
we got the award letter from ESHI. ESHI allows us to focus on SMI.
Okay,
If we did 15-15, it's and or.
okay.
And it's largely turning into an SUD program, and our interest is serving people with SMI. That does not mean that people with SMI may not have an addiction problem, but that will not be their only issue.
Got you. All right, what I will say is, she's been wonderful with answering questions, so you can all send me the questions and we can get you those answers. We don't need them all tonight. There were things that I think I had sent that maybe you could just follow up, but I'm not gonna, these aren't questions. I guess, well, one is a question. What, I know this is as of right and everything, you know, I don't know what that always means, but how much can the board help shape this still? Like what input can we have is like, I know you're engaging with us, and I just want to know, is this just like to build a relationship, or is there any like input that we could have to shape this moving forward?
You know, I think that's an honest question. We have a community facility space that we need to fill. We very much like to work with you guys to figure out how we can find something that is both mission.
How big is the space?
Right now, it's being at 10,000 square feet. There is room for us to adjust that smaller, not bigger. 10,000 square feet is pretty big, so.
Especially here,
yeah. So it may be that we do that a little bit different. So there's opportunities now to work with us to try to figure out, what do you guys want? Like, where you guys are rich in, I was actually surprised to see like your questions about childcare facilities and whatnot, because my understanding of the neighborhood by spending time here and by looking at what resources is that you guys have a lot of child care like children's services. So I was surprised to see that, but that's why we're having this conversation, so that we can say, like, where should we be working with? Where should we be identifying? The one thing that we need to know with that is it needs to be someone who can pay market rent, right? So if it's going to be a cultural institution, which would be lovely, then we need to collectively work to figure out how they will be able to afford to pay commercial market rent by grant writing and those sorts of things. Like, unfortunately, we have to be able to pay for the building.
Can email them. And then this isn't a question now. We've been asking HPD. I understand what the budget requests say. I mean, but sentiments change, board members come and go, priorities change. But I understand that you reviewed that and that's what you saw at the time. I think that might have been, I think it was the year before, whatever, but we don't know. We've been asking HPD, right? Because there are concerns from the community about the concentration of not just supportive housing, but all kinds of facilities in this neighborhood that we're not against, but we're just wondering, and you've expressed some of those reasons. I think not only is these sized properties available, but they're also much more expensive downtown, right? I mean, a lot of people say they want to come here, but the truth is it's cheaper, right? And that's just a fact. Well, cheaper, a lot cheaper, like significantly cheaper. While they won't give us, and we've been pressing them to give us the statistics to prove us wrong or prove us right, they don't. If we have a lot more, right? And the longer they don't give us that answer, the more we assume that it's because we won't like it. And what I mean is we won't like it is it's just about fair share. And it's funny because I think the other communities in this city are, at least from my at Borough Board today, I mentioned fair share and all the other chairs nodded their heads. So I'm wondering where the disconnect is here, right? It seems like there was a homeless shelter going in Community Board 8 and they were overwhelmingly for it. So it's not that we're not for it. We're just like, okay, so the other board's okay with why isn't it going? And I know there's things beyond that. What I do know, and I haven't had, personally, I don't see, with my own eyes, I haven't seen the issues with them. I haven't. But we do know there is a large concentration of this type of supportive housing in this specific area where you've come. And I'm very surprised that they would point you to that site, because we have Prospero Hall, Schaefer Hall, Timbale Terrace is coming, and I'm not saying, these are all things we're for, but because you're for something, doesn't mean you gotta just keep saying okay to it, right? And then it's a little further, but still on Third Avenue, the state, without, the governor, right, putting the biggest supportive housing right there too, and I think I might even be missing one, but my point is, we do know it's saturated here, and, we do know, it's not, I think we've been very careful how we've spoken about it is, and I understand what you say about it's hard to fill units, with the head of household, but, again, maybe there isn't funding for it, but, the question is, like, there are a lot of parents living in homeless shelters with children, and I can imagine that is a high likelihood of that could be a reason you develop it. And I'm just really baffled as to how there isn't more funding there. Like, I feel like that's something this community would embrace, right? Single parent with 2 kids, right? I think the reason for the childcare is it's more like with the mayor coming in with the 2K and 3K and all that. It's, you hear these stories about a parent that has to go 2 hours to drop their kid off at the school they want them to be at, and they got to go work somewhere else. So maybe we can't cater to that demographic in the housing. We thought we could kind of complement it with that. So, I mean, like I said, picked it for why you picked it, but I can say that to the people that live around there, I can understand the frustration. And I think they get painted in the sense that they don't want to help either, but it is for a fact saturated there. In that it's a very small area with hundreds of units. And I think people do see things, and I think they might associate certain things with things that it isn't. But it's hard to tell people that when they are seeing things, right? It's just hard to say that. Like, if stuff like happened in our community, happened downtown, not this specifically, they'd be up in arms. So I think this board is just trying to be more engaged and more vocal, because otherwise it's like, if we're not asking these questions, we're not doing this, then who, right? So, that's, I just say, if the Manhattan Borough President's Office and they appoint me, if they send somebody this way to that block, I am genuinely concerned as to how they know about what's going on in this community. I think that was the borough president, not the current one, it was the last one, the comptroller now, right? So if it was his office, not him.
I'm just gonna, sort of to answer your question, but maybe suggestions for you is, one is just to advocate the city for the priorities that you're looking for. Right now, the city.
We do, they don't listen.
Yeah, right now, the city's priorities when it comes to housing is supportive housing. There's more money for supportive housing than there is for anything else.
I hear you, but prioritize it in Midtown,
And it's a function of 2 things. It's where is their land and what is the cost? Because the city, when we develop in the Bronx, which we do a lot of, and I think there's a lot very similar to here, the concentrations, it's because of availability of land, the price of that land, and center around rezonings. That's really where the land is where there was a existing use that you can now go up and build 14 stories.
All right, well, thank you for coming. There'll be other questions. You've been great with being very,
I hope that this is a long-term relationship, right? Like, we're not gonna, I hope that we're demonstrating that, right? The team is committed. I get that there are concerns. Us partnering with you to try to address them the best we can is, the only thing that I can promise you is that we will try to do that.
And just the last thing, we'll be back definitely before we start construction. We will certainly be hiring.
Oh, we want to keep the dialogue.
We will be hiring.
And you've been good, that's, I think.
I know we talked about internships earlier. We hire people specifically from every community we work in to be our interns. We partner with different nonprofits to place them. Sometimes they're high school, sometimes they're college. But every summer that we're building in your community, we will do everything we can to make sure there is a young person from your community on our site who gets a really good job opportunity. And then hiring, we'll partner with the organization, Building Skills, you may have heard of, for construction workers.
All right.
So can we schedule I know that we're not gonna do it now, but can we be in touch about you guys, everyone
Yes.
who wants to come and
Yes.
visit our facilities, so you can see?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love for that to happen.
It would
I'll be
definitely. Thank you for remembering that. I
Yeah.
would remember later, but
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, so, yeah.
The only thing is, if possible, if it could be like not during like the regular like working hours and stuff like that, because a lot of us do work till like 5, so that way that we have the opportunity to actually.
Yeah, I
It could be
think
like a weekend or something.
it can be. I think you will miss the full experience.
That's what I was wondering.
You'll miss the full experience.
No, I wanted all
Or
of us to
maybe
be there.
2 different.
Yeah, maybe we could
Saturdays
do it
too.
for those
We'll
who
figure
do
that out.
Saturdays.
They have, I emailed it to them.
Be mindful of the 35 and we speak about the commitment and, you know, coming back before the youth board. I chair human services committee,
Oh, good.
so we would like to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Thank you.
happy to do that. I will leave some folders
Thank
here
you so
with
much.
you
All right,
guys.
thank
It has
you.
my contact information in there.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just remember what I said, because I'll forget.
You write it down for me now?
I am,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna move to B, informational presentation on proposed short-term transitional housing at 66-70 East 129th Street. David, I hope I say this right, Johansson from ACMH Care Management and Housing. Is that you?
That's me.
Okay, how are you? I didn't know, I haven't seen you before.
The Johansson is correct. I'm Daniel. David was my father, so.
Oh, okay, David's on the agenda, my fault.
But I'm Dan Johansson.
You mind coming here? Let me see you.
We're gonna.
Yeah, you don't have to stay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you for the invitation to meet all of you. And there was a kind of an official notice that we sent out, I think was distributed initially. And then I put together a little more detail about what the nature of the program and just some pictures so that if you can't picture the site, you can kind of see where it fits in. I brought a few more printouts if anybody would like to. Sure. So I think I'd rather, kind of hear your questions and again, I'll give mine away. This one.
Ginger, you can use that one and give it to me at the end.
Some of us could share.
Oh, yeah. I saw this. So, not here, right here, I've got mine, that's some extra. Yeah, because I wrote some notes. So I think, I'm not sure if you've gotten the chance to read through, it's just kind of a synopsis of what the concept is, but let me start with the program description. But first I'll just tell you a little bit about ACMH. So ACMH was founded in 1973 as an auxiliary to what was then Manhattan Psychiatric Hospital. When people were starting to receive, psychotropic medications and the whole deinstitutionalization began. And the mission initially was there was a gift shop, and it was kind of a work program, and it was to try to get folks ready to go into the community. The first program, however, was through the State Office of Mental Health. There was the SROs. Everybody knows about the SRO, which were not really an adequate place for people that needed support. There was no supportive housing, that you heard about from St. Francis Friends of the Poor. And so we got grants to actually lease apartments in the community. We started in the Yorkville section and in Washington Heights. I joined the organization in 1992 as a case manager. I've been the CEO now for 23 years. The organization has, we develop transitional licensed housing. We also develop supportive housing. We also on the other end of the spectrum, for 10 years, we have crisis respite, which is a 7-day stay to avoid people that are going through some mental health crisis that they may define themselves. You don't need a referral to walk in. But it's completely funded through grant funding and through Medicaid in order for people to just have a respite and avoid going to the hospital or just going some kind of crisis. So the state came out with a brand new model, which is called the short-term transitional residence. The short-term transitional residence was part of the the governor's $1 billion investment in mental health. 90% of that was capital and operating money for a spectrum of housing. This model, what's unique about this model, it's short-term, which means it's intended for a 120-day stay. The intention in the awards, and we received two awards, was twofold. It was to work particularly with the hospitals because of the shortage of psychiatric beds.
Okay.
The need for many folks that ended up their symptoms had resolved, but the hospital were having difficulty, and they still do, placing people. People end up, rather than ending up on the street, that they'd have a landing place to go. The nice thing about this model is it's a very intensively staffed clinical and rehabilitative supports. There's no tenancy. All the funding comes from the state. It's completely funded by the State Office of Mental Health. The operating funding, we have the commitment. We also have the capital commitment. We're going through the process of a feasibility study. We have a contract that's dependent on approval from the governor's division of the budget for the funding to fund the rehab. We already have the money in hand for the services. So because there's no tenancy, it gives us the ability, first of all, to serve people that may not have benefits in place. Many times people leave the hospital, they don't have Medicaid, which this is all people with serious mental illness. So we can serve them. There's nursing, there's mental health services on site, and we can work with them over 120 days to get them benefits and to place them in housing. It may be transitional housing, it could be permanent housing, but because there's no lease and no tenancy, we can, it's like like a bed and breakfast.
Mhm.
There's no, we have the ability to, to provide services, to send somebody back to the hospital, or basically telling them they have to leave if they're not benefiting from the services, or if they're disruptive in any way. So the program description page probably is the best kind of summary of the services. It'll serve 14 residents. That's the maximum in the model. It's very small. There's 21 full-time equivalent staff, 22 people actually, 20 full-time and 2 part-time that are in the staffing model. The very intensive services, clinical services. The staffing pattern is basically dictated by the state. There's a full-time vocational counselor, so it's all about getting people connected with housing. Number one, with work to the extent that people can do that, are willing to do that, are ready to do that, and then all the clinical referrals to make sure that they have all the clinical supports that they need. So the building, the current building has been a charter school up until a couple of years ago, as I understand it. The children's storefront, it was originally more than 100-year-old couple of residential buildings. It was originally residential. It's been a school. So I can tell you why it's very difficult. We spent a couple of years, very difficult to find a small building that's 100% accessible, has to be 100% accessible. You don't get the economies of scale when you're doing a very small project. Our award is to work exclusively with Manhattan hospitals. It has to be in Manhattan. We have a historic relationship for more than 30 years with New York Hospital, Columbia Presbyterian, now New York Presbyterian, with both sites. Always been very much partnered with the hospital systems. We've also been working for many years with the Mount Sinai system. So it was important to us to find a site that's accessible, where people can transition from. Typically, they're going to be from Manhattan if they're hospitalized in Manhattan, not always, but it kind of psychiatric hospitals tend to you get funneled toward the borough or the community that you live in. We also we started in Manhattan, but we have services in Queens and in the Bronx as well. So I think I should just stop and I'm sure this is my first time here. Thank you for having me, and just want to really know what kind of questions that you have and what kind of information that would be important to you.
Thank you. Before I take questions, and we'll take 4, because again, we can always send you questions, right? I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I'm not an expert on any of this. I'm going to read out a position that the board took back in October on not the same thing. A different thing came. I don't know if they're the same, but they might be adjacent enough for you to consider. And it was a position we took, and it was for townhome health. They had come to the board, and it was for, I believe, like a 30-day crisis, like housing. If you were suffering from, I think they were being referred from the Department of mental hygiene, or and DOHMH, and the board took a position that we did not want the siting of those types of facilities in this community. We didn't just say no to that one. I'll read it. We said Community Board 11 has considered townhome health proposal to open a crisis residential support center at 420 East 117th Street and has voted to oppose the siting of this facility at this location. Further, CB11 has voted to recommend that no such facilities be opened in East Harlem. While CB11 recognizes the need for adequate support services for the most vulnerable, our district is facing a concentration of such services while other communities are not doing their part to address this responsibility. Unfortunately, this concentration has contributed to persistent quality of life and public safety concerns throughout the district. So, I mean, that was in October. As I said before, things change, but that was in October. I think my question is, and I know you guys have a job to do and you have populations to serve, but it just seems like, we're having things come into this community, like where help is coming, but we're kind of not asking for that help. It's like, and then we're not even being told it's the people from the community who are going to get that help. So it's like these things come into the community and it's to help, but it's not to help the people in the community, and it's not at the request of the community, at least as far as I'm concerned. And I know Christina mentioned earlier that we had those requests, but positions are kind of fluid, right? This is not permanent housing now. This is short-term housing, and I think the bigger fear with that is you're getting different people all the time. I don't think any community is a fan of that kind of, revolving door of people coming in and out. You want to get to know your neighbors. You want to know who's in your community. And I think that, I just, it's not even how I feel. That's just a sentiment, but I do feel as a resident here that, I don't know about this so much, and that's the position we took. So I'm not even asking you to comment. I just thought you should be aware of, where we stood as of very
Sure.
recent.
I'd like to make a comment if I can. Being more than 30 years doing this kind of work, and working in many communities, citing all kinds of projects that no community really wants more. Every community feels saturated, but I also understand the need to serve people in the community. I think that so there is a collision of commitments, which I appreciate, and I think that historically, mental hygiene law, because it's always been NIMBY with people with mental illness. There's less stigma now than there was many years ago. I think what happens is when we do serve people in the community, we can't just serve people from this community. That people end up appreciating if they even realize what goes on in that building. So I think that we the mental hygiene law provides a process to basically facilitate these kind of conversations. But our intention is to provide the service. So we want to come and be involved in dialogue to understand your concerns, and we want to be a good neighbor. We have good relationships in all of our communities. In fact, when we first cited going back about 8 years ago in Community Board 5 in the Bronx, we opened, that happened to be a permanent supportive project, similar to what Friends of the Poor. We were able to do the project. We went back. We have under construction now another project in the Jerome district, the same community board. We went to the community board and brought tenants. The folks toured our program, and we didn't have opposition because folks kind of knew us and knew the kinds of tenants that were living in the building. So this is a different. You're right. It's a transitional. I think these are folks that are coming out of the hospital. We can screen. We don't have to take. We can screen. This is not a city kind of controlled. So we work with the hospitals. We have a critical time intervention team, which is working. We started last year, that works with these same hospitals. We go into the hospitals. We have a relationship. So we partner to know folks before they come and decide if it's a good match.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go 3 questions. So Jewel, and then I don't see any other hands, so maybe it's, okay. And then I'll take Nilsa, Derek, and then I'm gonna recognize, and that'll be it.
So, thank you, sir, for coming. I have to say first that, I'm all about servicing folks, okay? I'm gonna also have to say that, I'm gonna echo what Deb just said. We just heard from an entity that, is looking to have a facility in this community. And you came right after that person. So you imagine like the folks here, it's like, oh, another facility in our community. I'm gonna say this is not the time for this. Perhaps in 15, 20 years, we need to like stop and take an assessment of where we are in East Harlem in terms of the facilities that we currently have, and stop this, because it's less expensive. And you talk about the Bronx. I grew up on the Bronx. It's a shame you talk, okay, the Bronx is the next site where all these facilities are going. So, it's like I know I'm just like, no, sorry, no. Thank you.
All right, Jewel, thank you. Nilsa, and then Derek.
thank you for your presentation. The location where this is on, there's a different council person there. Have you been to another community board or Yusuf Salam? Is this in his
Yes,
district? Have you
yes, he got the
been
same
to
notice.
them? Uh-huh.
No, not yet. We just provided the notification last month.
Oh, so you haven't had a chance to speak to him or anything, get
No.
any feedback from him? Okay.
We typically, we've gone the process of the mental hygiene law, the Padawan law, points us to the community board. And that's what we've always done, because the community board, so they've all received the notice and copied in, but we don't go to every entity because they don't have the time, and we don't have the time. And the community board is the place where oftentimes they're represented, the local council folks, or sometimes the assembly people.
Thank you. And then I'm seeing by your schematic, we just went to visit a site. So I'm seeing the breakdown. Do they have like sinks in the room that you're envisioning, or do they have just the shared space of the bathroom?
No, they're all shared. It's really, since it's such a short term, everybody has a private bedroom, but they're shared bathrooms. And yeah, they also there's not, while people have privacy, in the bathroom and the bedroom, they don't have a lot of privacy, and it's by design. This is a transition from a hospital to housing, so we want to be able to observe them and interact with them.
And just one more question, if I may. Sorry. In terms of your other programs that you've run,
Right.
what has been almost your success rate? So this is a 4-month program. It seems like 120 days roughly, and then from there, are you giving them potentially, if they want, vocational counseling and housing supports? Have you had a success rate in terms of, let's say, in other programs that you have like this, in placement of housing? Because housing is there's such a dearth of it. And so there's a lot of organizations that are looking to place their individuals. So I'm just curious about, your success rate in terms of that. Because it seems like after 4 months, they're going to be out of the program. And so you're going to try to get a positive outcome. And so my concern is, if you can't place them, let's say, do they go into a shelter system? And then do they then get the opportunity to come back after a certain time?
That's a good question. No, as long as we're working with them and they're working with us, they can stay beyond the 120 days.
Okay, so there's a potential for a longer stay.
Yes, but the goal of the state, and our goal is to, if they don't have a 2010E housing application, we'll do that. If they, you're right, we do have, we operate about a little more than 1,000 beds all told, in different kinds of models. About half of them are transitional, half of them are permanent. So yes, we have a success rate in terms of moving people on. Yes, it's difficult because the city, and now even through Isha has mentioned, really controls the referrals into a lot of the housing. There's a shortage of housing. So, but we do that. There are beds, and we operate a number of them that don't have those restrictions that we can that are transitional beds. So our transitional housing can be a 2, 3, 4 year stay. We're not talking about a short period of time. So we have the ability, even internally, which is the easiest way to move people on. Because otherwise we wouldn't have applied for this grant, because we don't want to kind of just warehouse people, and it's not an environment where you want to stay, to make it your home.
I'm gonna say.
Let's keep it all. We're at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We got more.
I'm just curious about this as a gut rehab. If you're doing this and you're getting it, what would be the impact to the surrounding community as you are doing this?
I mean, so there should be no impact, because the exterior is going to be the same. All the gut is going to be inside.
Okay, Derek.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When would be the soonest that you think this would open?
Good question. We think it's about a 1.5 year construction period. We already have the financing. We hope to, I would say, we've done a schematic design. We've gotten the approval from the State Office of Mental Health. They're funding the whole thing entirely. We're following up on our budget to make sure that we've covered all the costs. Looking at stuff like, is there asbestos? Is there lead that we have to abate that would add cost? So if I expect between the design, we could potentially by the end of the year have a contractor start. We could open and then add a year and a half from then. So, I would say certainly by the end of sometime in 2028, we would hope to be able to open. I mean, we're just going through our due diligence and just starting these conversations. So there's a lot of, we want to cite the project there, obviously, but there's time to the design is pretty much designed by the state. It's very heavily supported, but we need to have the time to build the relationships. We're in Washington Heights, we're in Harlem, we're in the Lower East Side here in Manhattan. We're not in this community of other relationships here, so we would want to make that happen. If the outcome is that it's cited, and we would hope for that, understanding all the concerns, but we want to be a good neighbor and address your concerns the best that we can.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if your organization has ever walked down 125th Street or gone to the subway 125th or 116th or 110th, or just spent any time in the community, gone to the parks, just walked around.
I'll be honest with you, I know I'm more of a West Sider. I first came back to New York and lived at Morningside Gardens on LaSalle Place on 23rd. I took my kids to school on then it was like the ABCD line, so it's on the west side, not on the east side. But I know 125th Street very well, but more on the west side.
It's very different 125th on the west side.
I was just walking around, like for the people that live here. The last thing East Harlem needs is any type of mentally ill, more services for this area. Like, we're really saturated. It's time for other areas to come even a little bit close to where we are. So respectfully, I suggest you walk around with your eyes open and really observe, because you're probably not aware of this, but we have the M35 bus coming from Ward's Island, bringing level 1 and level 2 sexual predators. They drop them off. Go to 125th, look at the bus. The Rikers Island bus brings people recently discharged from I know because I worked at Rikers. And I know that the mentally ill are put on the bus with their envelope and they're dropped off right at 125th Street. I think we 14% of all methadone and drug treatment rehab programs in all of the city. This small square mile radius has all of these methadone clinics for disturbed people, addicted people. And you're sitting here saying that you're proposing something else because you think the community needs that.
Well, this model doesn't exist currently. There's not one
you don't need
anywhere.
it. Another neighborhood needs it.
Well, there's similar things. It's adjacent.
We have so many. I can show you the map of the density of what we have here. All along Madison, all along 3rd Avenue. Go look around.
I'm not a stranger to your neighborhood.
Okay, well then, if you're not a stranger, I think it's interesting that you would actually come to propose yet another. So many other neighborhoods need this. This particular area does not need it.
This is to serve all of Manhattan and to serve the hospitals.
We don't care.
Well, I think the issue is that we serve a disproportionate
We've done our part.
of the rest of the city. I think if people were coming in here saying, we're serving the community with these things, they're here, but that's, what you just said is actually kind of the problem.
I hear the frustration.
And you did say you know the neighborhood, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but then you also said that you haven't walked that area, which, I mean, it's a concern that you'd be coming to propose something and you weren't really familiar with the area there. That is, you know, I'm only saying what you said, and I just personally would find that concerning.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, Asher, and then we're gonna move to the next thing, because we have other things.
Same thing that I said to St. Francis, reach out to the schools around there, because there's a couple of schools around there. And also, once, actually, I'm not even gonna get into that in a second, so.
And remember, everyone, I'm sure if I send you questions, you'll answer. You have been very thorough with your answers, I appreciate that. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
And
good night.
And I hope I haven't been offensive in the way.
It's nothing as personal.
And I know, and I guess
It's not, you have not been offensive. I appreciate it. No. We welcome the dialogue, so I don't want you to feel that way. This is, go to other community boards, this is not, it ain't bad. Thank you though, thank you. Okay, all right, we are going to go, this is gonna be quick, so I'll give a quick summary. There was a request for a letter of support for PS 171, Patrick Henry Prep, and the school's improvement initiative. There was no, I did pull up the letter, but essentially they're asking for funding for the school for, different things, right?
Yeah,
Go
can I just
ahead,
give some
Asher.
information, because I
Yes.
need to go talk to
Thank you.
the superintendent. There was a question that was asked in the meeting that I asked about their, I'm only bringing this up because it's relevant, that the question and the concern that I brought up was, if you're wanting to build these, like, they want to build like a cycling studio, yoga studio, which are all great things. However, I asked them if they were meeting the projected class size expectations. They said yes. The truth is they're not. So I got that information because a couple of people were asking me to get that. So they want to convert some of their open classrooms to these health initiatives, so. But basically they're applying for grants. The letter is very generic because they said they wanted a very generic letter that they could like use for different health but what was presented to us was a podcast studio, a fitness studio, a cycling studio, and a yoga studio. So, yeah.
So the only reason the letter is here is because, they needed it, so what did they come at this
They
month?
wanted it yesterday.
They wanted it yesterday, but I was not gonna have us come in, to do that. They're supposed to really go 30 days, and I've sent clear emails out, but I did say that certain circumstances we could expedite it, and my reason for bringing it here was just to give it that one more step before full board. But it was go ahead. Actually, this is your thing, so take it.
Well, I don't want
I'm
to.
happy to. No, this is you.
Dr. Christie also said, just so y'all know, for the future, she will be reaching out to the principals and saying, for any grant requests, they do need to come a month or two before. Because I don't, and this is just, I'm just letting y'all know, this is a special circumstance, but it was communicated to the principals that they should, and it was communicated to the school last year that they should have came a month before.
And we will take that into consideration moving forward, okay? Go ahead, you were, did you have, no, go ahead.
No, I just said, why is it special if they knew last year? It was a special circumstance.
I mean, it's not a special circumstance. Let's just, okay, no, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm gonna be real blunt about this. I've been going to all the meetings. I was put on the spot at that meeting. It was not appreciated. I've laid out what the protocol here is, that it's what Jose had put in for 30 days, and that we get the review, and then we see the letter, which I'm thankful for Asher, because that wasn't on Asher. Asher just ran the meeting and really came through with the letter in time, so we'd have it to review. It's hard in the room with a bunch of kids there presenting, and it's not, I've left it open for exceptions. This isn't super complicated. This isn't like where we've had people come for a $5 million grant on the 23rd hour, or no, a grant up to 5 million, didn't know the amount, right? That's what we're really trying to get. So I agree with you. I'm not really happy that we have to do this, but at the same time,
It was already said.
yeah,
we're
so
just-
we don't have to vote on it. We could just go with the recommendation of committee. I just wanted us to talk about that here. We couldn't send it to another meeting, so I figured we'd just send it here instead. It was the best thing I could think of without having it be yesterday, because that was not really feasible. All right, so Sage, and then I think we'll move to the next, okay, so Sage, then Derek, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I just think this would, I know the reason they need the letter now is time sensitive, but I think this would also be a good thing to include in our budget requests.
It's, once again, I have reached out to all the schools multiple times that I said they need to come to us months before. Unfortunately, not many of them have done that. So the reason why some of this isn't reflected in the budget request, I brought up the tracker to them. Because I spoke to Dr. Christie and she wrote an email to all principals. They all have my information. They just haven't done it. So that's why, and I keep saying this at the youth and education meetings, I told Dr. Christie is, it's gonna be the same stuff every year if people don't come to me. I said, I'm not putting anything on that doesn't come to us. So that's just what that's the boundary I had to set, because we end up having a whole bunch of, at least for youth and education committee, a whole bunch of schools coming out, sending me emails and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't really know exactly what you're talking about. And I me personally, I'm not gonna put my word behind something that I haven't received like a formal presentation. I'm not gonna make my committee vote on something that they don't know about.
No, as you should. All right, thank you, Asher. Derek, then Jose, and then that will be it for this.
Asher, were they clear with you about how exactly they were asking for this money to do these things?
They said it was a series of grants that they were applying for and a mix of the participatory budgeting.
Okay.
I reached out and asked them for more specifics, but they were very clear they wanted a generic letter. So.
Did they tell you why they wanted a generic letter? Is it just because it fits a bunch of boxes?
Because they're applying for a whole bunch of grants.
You're gonna keep using it, all the different grants calculating the same number.
Can I add?
We had Jose, then Rosa, and then I mean it, that's it.
I mean, most of it was discussed already, but
yeah,
we have to start re-educating everyone. They can't come here last minute. The reason they're coming last minute is because they're used to us doing whatever we have to do to give them the last minute. So technically they needed it yesterday, this is what it is. My other question was, if they pass this executive
we're not gonna vote on it. We're just gonna.
In the email I sent, I told them we will vote on it.
We'll vote on it then.
Does it look like
we can do that.
I think we presented it like we were gonna vote on it tonight.
We can do that.
And if we vote on it tonight, Angel, then we can send them the letter as soon as.
No, we're gonna send it after full board.
Do we have to wait until full? I
want it to be done that way,
That's
though.
the email that I sent, I said after full board.
Because then I'd rather not vote on it tonight. The whole point was to let this go through full board. So if we're gonna vote tonight, we're gonna vote at full board, which I'm okay with, but then.
So then we'll vote tonight,
And we can do that. Why
full
not?
board.
Why do we have to? The letter's already a day late. Let's just be honest. It's a week. And I'm gonna say this, we can't hold them accountable till we hold ourselves accountable. And when we have members who know the rules and then say it in front of everybody, but don't worry, we could get this done now, then how can I hold anyone else accountable, right? So we gotta do it ourselves to do it out for everybody else. So I hear the sentiment at this table, so I'm here to represent what you all want. So you know what? From now on, 30 days. That's it. End of story. No exceptions. Okay, that's it. We'll never end like this,
But
but
if we vote tonight, what's the point of that?
We vote tonight,
Don't ratify it.
ratify it.
I don't think you vote.
Because it's.
I don't think
you
we do.
already vote.
And that's to give them
Did
the
you take
letter.
it when the done is? and you-
They did. We don't have
So
to-
then we don't have to vote.
that's what I said. Yeah, we don't have to vote tonight. We could just send it to full board. I just sent it, so we had a letter ahead of going to full board, so we could somewhat follow the procedure that we didn't follow. Okay, Rosa, and then we're gonna go.
So,
Yeah, I'll go Rosa and then.
So, as a former parent of that school, I think maybe this is the third or fourth year that they come to the youth and education, just because I was the one person that told them that they needed to come. So this is not the first time, and I know they were extremely busy, like they didn't have a PTA, they didn't, like their SLT wasn't working, and then a lot of things were not, working in the school. But obviously that's no excuse. I think definitely moving forward, and I know Asher spoke to Christie. I have also personally spoken to Dr. Christie with regards to having all the schools come in December rather than January or February, obviously, because we do take 30 days to view it or whatever, discussion, and then vote on it. So we're not going to vote on this today, we're just gonna vote a full board.
I already spoke to Principal,
Well, you know what, but
and he understood the procedure, and I told him, we will vote on it. I said, I was very specific with him, I said, if the full board votes to take the committee's position, because I don't wanna promise anything, then that's what.
So just from the youth committee, not from here?
No, here.
From here? Did you tell them that we're gonna vote again tonight, or that
I told them Tuesday.
The full board?
Yes.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
I
I
just
told
wanted
them
to,
tonight. No,
okay,
I said
good,
that.
that's what I thought, I read it, I just wanna make sure.
I told them.
I know, I read it, I'm just hearing kind of different things, not from you. Okay, look, this isn't complicated, this wasn't a difficult ask, I'm not a huge fan of us really writing generic letters moving forward, that's a bit strange, and just about in any capacity, to be honest. All right, Nilsa, and then I wanna recognize
I'm not in agreement with a generic letter, just because then a generic letter can be used for each proposal. That also eliminates the community board from hearing the ask. I would, if it was recommended and they came for specifics, then I would recommend that you all consider putting in the specifics that they asked for, or regarding why, or at least putting in the date that they came for the presentation, so that the letter's real clear that it's talking about when they came to present on that day. And that's what you're giving them a letter of support for.
I agree with you. And listen, you're all gonna have, you can vote Tuesday, right? That's, it's up to you. And I asked this question, and it was told that it was generic after the meeting. It was a long meeting. No, public, and then we're gonna move on.
You're saying it wrong, that's why. You're saying it generic, but it's really not generic.
The chair of the committee said it.
You're saying it incorrectly, I'm sorry, like, it's not generic, it's just standard because they have to send it to, Espaliat's office, they have to send it to City Council, Elsa Encarnacion's office, like, different council members. It's not a generic plain letter, it has all the.
So they're not gonna send the letter for different grants?
No,
So it's all just for one grant?
it's for the same grant that they came to present on.
You don't need to get upset because the committee chair said this, and I'm only going under what the leader of that committee said. So if I said it wrong, then I wanna get clarity. Asher, can you provide clarity
They
on that?
said it was multiple different grants.
Okay,
That's what I
well,
understood.
that's what I
It was
heard now.
multiple different grants. The letter states, it's generic in terms of it's not naming the specific yoga studio, the podcast studio, it's not naming all of that. It says, I'm reading it right now, it says gymnasium, bathroom renovations, including technology upgrades. I classified that as generic because when I spoke to the principal after, he said, I said, do you want me to write yoga studios? Do you want me to write all of that? He said, no. He said, it's technology. And we asked him that at the meeting. I said, do you want the specific yoga studio? He's like, well, we might put in for one thing and not the other, blah, blah, blah. So that's.
Okay,
I'm just saying that's what, there was multiple people there at the meeting who I spoke after, who they said that's what happened. If I misunderstood something, I'm just saying this is what was said at the meeting, and I double checked before I wrote this.
I'd advise if the principal could be a full board, that you have him come a full board.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's fair.
Ma'am, and then we'll move to the next thing.
Has this board thought any more about helping with the tax situation? How East Harlem co-op owners and homeowners are being taxed way more than like multifamily people in Park Slope are being taxed? Like, I brought it up at the last meeting, I don't know if any movement has been made, but like, it's a very unfair tax situation going on, and I think that should be approached. Also, Is there any thought about courting other businesses so that we can have other people here trying to bring things to Harlem besides mental institutions and homeless and, you know, drugs, like anything else? Can we get some vocational schools? Can we get some training programs? Can we get, you know, anything with home ownership too? Helping single parents, helping nurses, doctors, working people that have it together a little bit, that pay taxes, that are trying to keep it together, want to buy a home. Like, is there any movement to help court those developers and those things here? Like, every time we're like beating back 50,000 people trying to open something very unpalatable. Like, let's have some more creativity with bringing, you know, more interesting business opportunities.
To your first question, are you talking about property taxes on the building? Or?
Property taxes, yeah.
Yeah, they were raised in East Harlem. That was a city, that was a controller that said that we were not paying our fair share.
Nonsense.
I mean,
people with bigger properties who are paying way less than some co-op owners. And all the abatements are over, so there's people who are working when they bought their condos, who are retired now, who are not gonna be able to afford their apartments anymore.
I think we would refer you to the Echo Dev committee. That's where that
housing for that
and
for
housing,
property taxes.
Housing for the property.
So look, I will try to answer your question somewhat. We did take a resolution specifically to try to what is it, the ski program, senior citizen housing, SCREE and ski, the homeowners, the SCREE's for rental. We're talking about property taxes. So we did take a resolution, and I do believe that it was modified somewhat. I mean, that's to help seniors. The other thing is, yes, we're in constant conversations, union settlement. We've been in a lot of conversations. We've already done a survey of the businesses that are here. We're trying to get intake on what challenges they're facing. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I agree with you. We're looking to bring in, you got to bring in economic drivers. People aren't going to open businesses if there aren't reasons to come here. You know, the thing I'll say about Timbali Terrace, hopefully, is that the Afro-Latin Jazz Center will be what I think it will be, and it will give much needed, you know, thing to bring people into this community. We don't spend our own money here, right? And a lot of us, there's not much to do, and I hear you. No, and I've had my own ideas, and I'm gonna end here just to let you know the thoughts are going on. You know, I've been proposing, and I've even talked to our council person about it, about building tennis courts in the community. And the reason I say that is we have a lot of park space, a lot of underused. We have a lot of old handball courts that no one uses anymore. We got to use the resources that we have, which is right now we have a lot of park space that's not being used correctly. There's assumptions, I think, about what kind of activities will come into this community, and not assume that this community has all kinds of interests. And I think if we do certain things like building tennis courts and really supporting the cultural institutions that open up, it will bring people in. You'd be shocked at how many people, there's nowhere to play tennis, right? And I know it sounds silly, but I think things like that, moving in that direction, having those conversations about also bringing good things in and not always maybe bad. I don't want to say they're bad things, but saying to the things we have a lot of. The reason I will just say to you, I know you get probably frustrated by our agendas, and I think I've said this to you in the past, is if we don't listen, right? If we don't have these talks, you're gonna go by to, you know, a year from now it's gonna be there. And then people, not you specifically, people are like, wait, I didn't hear about this, I didn't know. I don't know what's gonna happen, right? I mean, you'd be surprised sometimes our electeds aren't even informed. We're finding out before they have, right? It's hard because we don't meet enough, and we're bound by open meetings law, which handcuffs us to how much we can meet, that we unfortunately, we have to be reactive a lot of the times, and we are trying to find a way to balance that to be proactive. So you could hold me to that. I mean, I've only been in this role like a month and a half, but I think we're going in that direction. There's an enthusiasm to find a way to handle what we have to and move it forward. You know, so I hear you. I encourage you to keep coming to the meetings. Housing and economic development would be the two that you're speaking about right now. And I, as the chair, have been going to all the meetings myself in person to see what's going on. So I just want you guys to know that, you know, we're advisory, but I'm trying to push us past that sentiment of like, we can, just because we're advisory, we can really shape things, and we have in the past. So I know I don't have all the answers you want, but we're listening. And, you know, I think I live here, I work here, I'm born here. I'm in the same thing as you. I just want you to understand, we all are. So we're not, you know, we're just community members who happen to be on the community board. That's really what it is. I want you to know we are here to hear a wealth of things, but from the community. We are having a public hearing Tuesday on our statement on the preliminary budget. We're gonna be out handing flyers, putting up. We want the feedback. The problem is a lot of times we don't get it. And then I think we'd like to be able to inform our decisions by a consensus of the community rather than sitting here and trying to figure it out ourselves. So, you know, we want to work hand in hand with the community. So I encourage everyone to make everyone aware that we are here to listen and work together. Okay. But there, you know, it's an outreach issue. And I actually was at the borough president's office today, and we're talking about funding for community boards. And I said, I think the number one thing is to give the boards more money to do more effective outreach. It's not about being ignored. It's we're limited in our resources and we're limited in how we can reach out. And because of that lack of being able to, over time, people have become skeptical of boards and stuff like that. And I think one of our goals is to remind people that it is not that we've been ignoring you. We've actually been reaching out the best that we can, but we got to do better. And you can hold me to that. Sage. Okay, so Sage, Xavier, and then we're gonna go, the rest will be quick, so let's go.
I would just say, we have this new tool from the district that allows you to submit any proposed budget request. It will automatically be considered by the relevant committee. So if you have any ideas, it sounded like a lot of the things you were mentioning are not exactly like city budget issues. But if you just have like an idea for something that can improve the neighborhood or some change you want to see, if you submit budget requests, we can try and craft it in a way that gets included in the city budget. And then there are all sorts of like legal responsibilities where like the city is not allowed to ignore us. They can like give us a response that we don't like.
We get a lot of farm issues here.
If you go to CB11M.org and you go to About CB11 link, drops down, Sage just put this a wonderful budget tracker, and even you can really just put in other and put in whatever you want, and we're here to help if you need help with it further. Xavier? Xavier?
Yeah, thank you. When it comes to taxation from rent and home ownership, and that's within the housing. If it comes to appropriation taxation within purchase of goods, that goes eco-dev, right? As how the committees have been divided. I think the greater issue is that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And that's a real issue. What we're seeing, we had a balanced budget. If you look at what happened with Bloomberg and others, again, commenting to what with the previous comments, we only have so much control. And the fact of the matter is, if you have it's not about whether our budget is bloated or whatnot. It's like where our money is getting spent. And now we've had one of the most extensive budgets that have been pushed forward. And when it comes to balancing it, the community boards weigh in and we put our commentary. But per the city charter, we're advisory, and the mere fact that we're all here, and you have Adem here as our current chair, Jose Altamirano, our vice chair, Neil Sarama, our chair before I served. We all have had the same battles in advocacy. It's a real pain. So we just ask for you to keep coming to the table and ask us to show up, and we'll show up. So that's what I ask.
Thank you. And I will say that, you know, just for example, today, and I feel, I guess, the inequities, and I got to do more research to hold me to it, but I heard about a program in Lower Manhattan where I believe they're giving a $15,000 grant plus 3 months of rent free. And I'm like, wow, you're giving that in Lower Manhattan, and we have vacancy after vacancy after vacancy. So I will be following up with that, because I've been pushing for the idea of, I don't want to call it special treatment, but to get us up to par, like, why can't we be getting more breaks in this community for our businesses, for our residents and everything? And now I'm finding out that there's extra assistance going to areas that, I mean, I didn't know Lower Manhattan had a struggle for retail. That's news to me. So just know we are here to listen, and tell your neighbors, and, you know, and listen, not everyone in this community is gonna have the same opinion. We're here to listen to all of them and try to come up with what's going to work best for everyone. But I don't
community boards down here too.
What?
I've been to
They are
community boards,
aggressive.
very aggressive.
And we're gonna be more aggressive, and I wanna give you an example, and then I am gonna move forward. They are aggressive, and that's why they get their electeds to show up, and that's why and we haven't. We've had elected reps who keep their screens off and talk to us, and we don't know what they look like. And I've already told them that they will not speak till the end of the meeting, the reps. They are supposed to be able to hear what we work on and bring it back to our electeds if our electeds don't come. They don't turn their cameras on, we're not entertaining them. These are baby steps to let them know that the board is serious. And if you want to work with this board, and we want to work with everybody, we just want to be treated with respect, the same respect our community deserves. And so, you know, we're really working hard. I mean, I'm not just saying, I really am, and I'm going to keep doing it. So, but thank you for being here, okay? I'm sorry that, you know, things aren't going exactly the way we all want them now, but we're working. All right. So with that said, we're gonna just bundle D and E together. I'm not gonna make this whole thing, so we can just move to F and wrap this up. The things I'm doing, if there aren't, you know, I'm not saying anybody's done it or whatever, but, you know, we need robust agendas. We need, you know, we need to be looking, you know, if there aren't, for example, I'll use this for example, if there aren't land use action items coming to the land use committee, right? We can't control that. ULURPs come when they come, right? They might not come, then you get 4 in a shot. What are you doing in between that, right? Well, how many projects have come here for our support and made commitments to this community? And I guess my question is, when is the last time we found out where the status of those commitments have been? So if we have a 4-month lull on new ULURPs, great. That's 4 months to then find out the commitments and where they are. Did they meet the local hiring? Have they met the hiring? Who's in those apartments? Are they vacant? Did they use the community facility space the way they did? What are the AMIs? Did they follow all that? So that's the stuff we need to be doing. If there were outstanding items, go back to them and be proactive. Don't just take the presentations that come to us. Go get the presentations for the things that we want to hear, okay? And the things that our community wants to hear, right? We will be reactive when we have to, but you know, we have a lot of time to be proactive. All right, so there's a lot to talk about, but I've also bombarded you guys with the emails. So that is it for D and E. With F, I'm gonna have to ask the public to step aside. This is nothing, it's just an internal board matter, and we have to enter into an executive session, and then the meeting will be adjourned, so you won't be missing anything else. I'm sorry about that, but I want to thank you all very much for being here tonight, okay? Can someone bring Angel back in now?
Hey, Adem, quick question of parliamentary procedure, because per
Dressing the
our,
wrong guy.
thank you for making me laugh, as horrible as I feel. But the fact that I'm not there and my vote doesn't count, I don't count towards quorum, just for participation and being excused. I can't, whatever matter is voted on, so.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there anyone, Angel, any names, anybody that's got to be off? No, right? Yep.
So I don't need to be present, yes or no, since I can't
No,
vote.
you don't, if you're not, you can't vote, so you don't have to be present.
All right.
You can be, right? Because he's a board member, though. No. Right, you're a member of executive, so you can stay in or you can go. I'm not.
But my vote will not count, is the point.
Right, so you won't vote.
So that's fine. I'll stick around. I just wanted to be clear.
It's not about counting. There just won't be a vote from you. Okay. Do I have a motion to enter into an executive session? Motion by Jose, seconded by Derek. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any objections? Any present not voting? Okay, done. All right, Jason. Okay. I don't love having to do this, but I'm gonna make a motion to remove Jason Wu from CB11 for failure to adhere to the attendance requirements set by the bylaws committee. Is that a second, Rosa?
Yes.
All right, seconded by Rosa. Angel, you take a roll call.
Jose Altamirano,
Yes.
Dan Brija,
Yes.
Rosa Diaz,
Yes.
Joel Jones,
Yes.
Sage Mason,
No.
Nelson Rama,
No.
Asher Rodriguez,
Yes.
Xavier he's absent. Derek Stampone,
Yes.
Anne Marie Vasquez,
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
That still goes to the full board.
It still goes to a full board. Nothing gets finalized here, ever. Okay, yep, so see what happens at full board. And if you want to come there, I will even give you a couple minutes to speak there. There will be no questions, but I'll give you opportunity to speak, all right? It's your choice. And depending on how that goes, the offer for public membership, if it comes to that, stands, all right? So do we have any old business, anyone? Right, all right. 3 minutes?
Well, this is kind of a lot and it's kind of important.
All right, 5 minutes.
So for the district needs, budget committee, we got the preliminary budget back from the mayor's office. We, as a board, have to draft and submit a response to the preliminary budget by March 15th. I think full board is not meeting until March 17th. So we would probably submit it or we would draft it on time, but it might be after the full board. And we would maybe submit it a couple of days late. Angel, I think you mentioned that.
Yes.
That would be okay?
Yes.
Cool. So right now, every committee chair received a bunch of emails from me yesterday about all of the agency responses to all of the requests we submitted. And the goal is for every committee chair to put it on their agenda at their next committee meeting. Just to look at these requests, see what the city agency said about your request, and then, I don't know, come up with an idea about what you think about that. Some of the responses are really positive, some are really annoying or frustrating. Yeah, youth and education ones were pretty unhelpful. But if everybody can do that, everybody's also assigned a liaison from the district needs and budget committee. I think it's supposed to be somebody that's on each committee, but committees may have moved around a little bit. And so that person is supposed to collect the feedback, bring it back to the district needs and budget committee, and then we will craft the responses. And hopefully this will all work pretty smoothly. It's also a good opportunity to, again, get used to using the budget tracker worksheet tool. And I guess we'll just kind of see how things go. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Help me, Sage and Jose.
Oh,
pass
yeah.
out flyers.
Yes, if people can, you took some, amazing. It would be great, we're trying to, so there's a public hearing at the full board meeting on Tuesday. We want it to go better than the last public hearing on the budget. I don't really think that many people are gonna, like, nobody ever does, but the preliminary budget especially is kind of like not, it's
Most
it's
exciting.
an interesting, like,
Yeah.
exercise, but it's not the most important document because it's just gonna change in the next versions of the budget.
But we might set the kind of framework to start working towards engagement.
Yeah, and it's a good excuse for people to like look at sort of the status
I
of
agree
things
with
right now. So if people can go around and like, distribute these flyers, I'll be hanging them up today, tomorrow, Sunday as well. We have them in English,
When's our
Spanish.
date again? That you want that? The date that you want the response?
We have Spanish, we also have French.
They told me it was okay.
Ideally, like right after your next committee meeting. Spanish one?
Yeah.
Oh, they're in color now?
Yeah.
We only have black.
I'll send you it. Do you print out the French one also?
I tried, okay? I asked people that know Spanish better than me, and they told me they were okay. Forgive me, I get an A for effort. Asher?
I have I
That's
promise
true.
they're very quick questions and I can be interrupted if they're not relevant. For the hearing, I noticed we had an ASL interpreter. Would that also be something there? Because I work for a deaf and hard of hearing program and I wanna invite people, but I don't wanna necessarily invite them if there's no interpreter.
Angel, I don't know how that was.
Huh?
I was gonna see if, have him answer that, see if you
So we only had the interpreters last time because there was an attendee that had requested it in advance.
Okay.
So if we know in advance, we can try to coordinate. I will double check with Khalid, because I think we might have a request for Tuesday.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to hear what Angel's saying, I'm sorry.
I'll double check with Khalid, because I think we do have a request for that same services for Tuesday. So I'll check with him tomorrow, I'll let you know tomorrow.
All right,
And we
thank
can
you.
make it a practice of moving forward to have that be a standing request for all hearings, okay? So that'll be.
Yeah, it's just because I want to invite.
No, it's a great idea.
And, this is for Sage,
Yes.
oh my God, I completely forgot one of the things I was gonna, I'll just say the other thing. For the tracker, because I see you're putting stuff in the tracker. I just wanna put it out there once again, like with the stuff you're putting on the tracker, because I saw 171 got put on there. I would, with those requests, are you putting them in, or are these like stuff people are actually requesting, putting them in?
It is, anything can get there any type of way, it's just a form on the website.
But it says the email for the 171 is the district needs email.
So I put that in there because I just want that in the tracker, I did that during this meeting just now. Your committee can decide to ignore it if you want to. I just want that, because I think it makes sense for, that school to submit a budget request.
It does, but also, once again, with the youth and education requests, and I'm not gonna go too much into it, is that we get so many at once. I would rather just maybe, like, I've directed people to the tracker, whether they decide to put it in or not is what happens. I would rather just for the sake of my committee trying to be thorough, not do too much of that. And my last question is, do you know if the city hall budget that might be an dumb question also, Angel, has City Hall released the dates for the city council hearings?
I don't, as far as I heard of the other day, no. But I don't know if that changed today, but I heard the other day that.
No, usually I get a list from one of
Okay, well, we'll let you know, so we'll be aware, because I plan on going. All right,
Also want to say it'd be great if committee chairs sent to their committees, like all of the, agency responses.
not great, please do it, okay, thank you. Good, I mean, it is great, but I'm saying like, let's just do it. Okay.
Why don't you just send it to the whole board?
Because I don't want people to get distracted.
Let them focus on the thing they're on, yeah, I mean, I hear you, but I think it keeps it more hyper-focused,
And
right?
I want every committee chair to like take it.
Yeah, that's understood. All right, any new business?
Anybody else want flyers?
No, okay, Angel, could you take the roll, please?
Jose Altamirano. Dan Briham.
Present.
Rosa Diaz.
Present.
Joe Jones.
President.
Sage Mason. Sage Mason. Elsa Arana. Asher Rodriguez. Xavier Santiago.
Here.
Derek Stampone. Sorry about that, Xavier. I thought you were.
That's okay.
Present.
And Jason is absent. You have quorum. You have quorum, madam.
What? Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you, meeting's adjourned at